Here are the top 10 stories from My Hero Academia. It's not just about the quirks, it's the character building by Horikoshi that truly sets this series apart. Although the story has come to an end, the fandom for My Hero lives on. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content like this. And let's start with number 1. Remembering fallen heroes and villains quirk in My Hero Academia. Nemuri Kayama, known as Midnight, was a pro hero who possessed the somnambulist quirk, which allowed her to put people to sleep. It actually works better on males. That means she could possibly beat All Might in his prime if she could spread her aroma. She died during the war with the Paranormal Liberation Front. Kathleen Bate, known as Star and Stripe, was the #1 pro hero in the United States of America. She possessed a New Order quirk, allowing her to manipulate and apply new rules onto herself and anyone around her as long as she makes physical contact. Unfortunately, her quirk was stolen and died going against Tomura. Himiko has a transformation quirk that allows her to use the quirk of the person she transforms into if she knows enough information about the quirk. She died saving Ochako with a blood transfusion. That's just some of our fallen heroes and villains. Number 2. Kathleen, known as Star and Stripe, has the New Order quirk that could apply rules on a living target, but there are 3 ways this quirk rules may not work. 1. If a person has multiple personalities, then their identity may not align with Kathleen's perception of who her target is. The target then chooses one of its multiple identities that would nullify the New Order effect. 2. If a person is having an identity crisis and doesn't understand their own sense of identity, then their identity would not align with Kathleen's perception of who her target is. This too will nullify the quirk's effect. This scenario enabled Tomura Shigaraki to escape physical death. 3. New Order cannot amplify the user's power beyond its natural limit. If the user's body has reached the limit of how powerful it can become, the quirk will be unable to save them. This was seen when New Order was unable to save Kathleen from Tomura's decay, with the quirk only being able to delay it at best. Unfortunately, Kathleen died in the hands of Tomura. Number 3. All For One has been seen in many forms in his life, from the best to the ugliest looking villain throughout My Hero Academia. In his prime, All For One was the most powerful person in the My Hero Academia universe. During this time, he wore a dark suit looking like a salaryman with sharp features and short white hair. Thanks to All Might inheriting One For All, he was able to defeat All For One and force the evil villain onto life support. It was during this time that All For One's face was disfigured, with All Might leaving him without eyes, ears, nose, or hair. During the Kamino incident, he wears a gas mask that covers his entire head and serves as a mobile life support system, helping him breathe following his sustained injuries from All Might. The Kamino incident causes All For One face to lose to All Might and got locked away in Tartarus. All For One remains powerful even in prison. During the Paranormal Liberation War arc, he uses his essence to control the body of Tomura Shigaraki and escape from Tartarus. In the final war arc, we see All For One return more powerful and appear to be wearing a more refined version of his life support mask. All For One having to use his trump card, the reverse engineered quirk destroying drug that revives his body back to its prime state. This is All For One in his most powerful form ever, and it seems that literally nothing can stop him. But with the effects of the drug side effect, it reduces him to eventual nothingness as he continues to age backward to his own demise. How much do you know about All For One? Number 4. Can't remember One For All wielders? Let's take a look at the first 3. Yoichi was the first user of the One For All. He had the power to transfer ability from himself to someone else. All For One gave him the quirk to stockpile power, and it fused with Yoichi's original quirk and ended up creating what is known as One For All. Before he was killed by his brother, All For One he managed to pass on his quirk to Kudo. Kudo is the second user and his appearance resembles Bakugou. Kudo was powerful and brave. His quirk was called Gear Shift, allowing him to alter the speed of himself and others with a single touch up to 4 times. He then passed on to Bruce, the third user of the quirk. Bruce is known to be the user of the incredible Fajin quirk. With repeated movements, the quirk allows him to store kinetic energy. Once built up over time, it can be released at once to boost the strength and attack output of the user by many times. This quirk is stronger when it is used by Deku. Bruce himself ended up dying at the hands of One For All, passing it on to Hikage Shinomori. That's just the first 3 One For All users. Number 5. Who is the 4th One For All wielders? A man known as Hikage Shinomori. His quirk is known for Danger Sense, a quirk that allows him to react to dangerous situations. Hikage was well aware of his limits and understood he couldn't defeat All For One by himself, so he spent his life training and strengthening One For All to be passed on to the next user. The 5th user is Daigoro Banjo, a pro hero known as Lariat of his time. He uses Black Whip quirk to swing and fling himself onto other buildings. Daigoro went up against All For One and was killed with his body crushed, but he was able to transfer One For All to the next user. Entayutai is the 6th user. He was in the right place at the right time for Daigoro to transfer the power, and had the smokescreen quirk that creates cloud of smoke to mask his location. And tried to fight All For One and was fatally wounded, being cut in half, and gave Nana some of his hair so that she could become the 7th One For All user. Number 6. Entayutai is the 6th One For All wielder with the smokescreen quirk. Thankfully, he managed to pass One For All to the next user before dying. The 7th user of the One For All quirk, Nana Shimura, was quite a powerful woman. Nana herself had the float quirk which allowed her to levitate in mid-air. Unfortunately, she was no match for All For One and passed on her quirk to the next user. That goes to Yagi Toshinori, known as All Might, the 8th user of One For All. Yagi made One For All his own and mastered the power at 100%. He could fight and overpower All For One. Izuku is the last and 9th user of the One For All, known as the strongest all-for-one user. He is able to bring out much more from his quirk than All Might ever could. Izuku has more quirk combinations up his sleeve and a more diverse fighting style. This makes Izuku the greatest of all one-for-all users. Number 7. All for One has a huge arsenal of quirks. There are at least over 10 named and unnamed quirks, many of which have merged or combined to create new, never seen before quirks. All for One steals quirks from others by simply touching them and could use it for himself or transfer to someone else. All for One also has the quirk factor that steals the genetic blueprint of an individual's quirk even before it manifests. Some of the stolen quirks include Search quirk taken from Ragdoll of the Wow Wow Pussycats. Search allows users to track up locations and weak points of 100 people at once, taken from the infamous villain Stain Blood Curdle quirk, a quirk that paralyzes and immobile targets depending on the victim's blood type. All for One was also gifted the quirk of near immortality, a quirk called Life Force that drastically slows his aging process, allowing him to persist for generations. This quirk was gifted by Dr. Garaki. Number 8. Horikoshi is continuing My Hero Academia, concluding at chapter 430. Fans are not ready to let the franchise go. Deku's story is definitely complete, but there are still many interesting heroes and villains with possibilities for a sequel or a spin-off. Horikoshi will be releasing an extra 38 pages of original content that will continue the story of the last episode and published as manga volume 42. This will be releasing on the 4th of December. The manga cover for volume 42 reveals that the series has finally come to a full circle. Referencing the first manga volume cover, Deku now stands in the place of All Might, with the pro heroes originally shown in the background are now replaced by his classmates as adults. This time you can see Toru Hagakure too. Fans may also see more of Deku's life as an adult in action, possibly with a new armor made by All Might's friends and Hatsume, or we might see the story progression of the young boy who has a hair-based quirk that Midoriya was encouraging. Horikoshi is still interested in starting a completely new manga in the future. It could be a horror or thriller manga, completely unrelated to My Hero Academia. But for more My Hero Academia videos, subscribe to Anakira Japan.